When people talk about success, they like to show you the trophies, the headlines, the moments when everyone claps for you. But they never talk about the years when no one was clapping. When I look back at my own journey, I remember long nights when I walked home alone, confused, doubting myself, wondering if I was the stupid one for believing I could build something bigger. Success, no matter how beautiful it looks later, always begins in a very quiet place. And nobody tells you this truth because most people quit in that quiet place. They think silence means failure. But silence is actually the first doorway to success. When I was starting Alibaba, I had no money, no connections, and honestly, no real support. Even my friends couldn't understand what I was trying to build. They said, Jack, why make life harder? Why not take a simple job? Why dream so big? They weren't trying to hurt me. They were trying to protect their version of reality. But the truth is, the bigger your dream, the smaller your crowd. People admire your results, not your road. They admire your confidence. But they never saw the moments when you had none. Everyone wants to succeed, but very few are willing to walk the invisible path before the world recognizes it. You have to become comfortable being misunderstood. You have to accept that for a long time, nobody will clap for you. Nobody will validate you, and nobody will understand why you're still trying. But that's the price. That is the silent part of winning that nobody warns you about. Luck favors those who stay long enough in the dark to see the first light dot as you start moving toward success. Something strange happens. People begin to say, I understand you, even when they don't. They act supportive. They smile. They nod. But deep down, many of them are afraid of what your growth might expose in their own lives. I learned this very early when I began dreaming bigger than my friends. They didn't say, Jack, go for it. They said, Jack, this is dangerous. Maybe slow down. Maybe think smaller. At first, I thought they cared about me. Later, I understood they were protecting their comfort, not my potential. People don't like being reminded of what they could be. When you start climbing, they feel the distance growing. And instead of climbing with you, most people will try to pull you back to the level where they feel safe. They will label your ambition as arrogance. They will call your dreams unrealistic. They will say, you are changing too fast, becoming too different. But the truth is, success requires change, and most people fear change more than failure. In my early days, many people told me they believed in my vision, but when it came time to support it, they disappeared. I learned that encouragement is cheap, but belief is expensive. And very few people are willing to pay that price. That's why silence becomes your greatest weapon. When you talk too much about your plans, you invite opinions from people who don't even understand themselves. Winners talk less and work more. Losers talk more and work less. You must accept this truth. Not everyone clapping for you wants you to win. Some clap because they think you will fail and prove them right. That's why emotional distance is necessary. Protect your mind like a treasure, because success is not only about building a business. It's about outgrowing the people who secretly hope you never get there. People love to repeat the phrase, just work hard and you will succeed. It sounds comforting. It sounds fair, but it is only half of the truth. When I was young, I worked harder than almost everyone around me, yet I was still rejected from jobs that thousands of others also applied for. Millions of people wake up early, stay up late, and give everything they have and still remain stuck. Hard work is important, of course, but it is only the starting line. Nobody wins the race by only showing up at the starting line. I learned this the hard way. For years, I believed effort alone could change my destiny. But effort without strategy is like running faster in the wrong direction. You feel exhausted, but you don't get anywhere. Success demands more. It demands intelligence, timing, self-awareness, and the willingness to do the difficult tasks that others avoid. It demands sacrifice, real sacrifice, not the comfortable kind people like to post about online. The truth is, you must work hard, but you must also work right. When we built Alibaba, the reason we survived was not because we worked harder than everyone else. Many companies in China worked harder. Some had bigger teams, better skills, more experience. What we had was clarity. We focused where others were distracted. While competitors chased quick money, we chased long-term value. While others copied, we innovated. Hard work powered us, but strategy guided us. Without strategy, all effort becomes noise. People don't like hearing this because it removes the illusion of fairness. But success is not fair. Success is strategic. The world rewards the person who works intelligently, not the person who simply works endlessly. Hard work is the engine, but direction is the steering wheel. Without the wheel, the engine only burns out. When people talk about success, They often hide the part where they were rejected again and again. Maybe it's because rejection is embarrassing. Maybe it makes us look weak. But I learned something important. Rejection is not a punishment, it is a filter. It shows you who you are when the world shuts the door in your face. When I was rejected by KFC, when even the police didn't hire me, when Harvard rejected me 10 times, I didn't feel like a future billionaire. I felt like someone the world simply didn't want. But that feeling became the beginning of everything. Rejection exposes your true relationship with your dream. Anyone can chase a goal when people say yes. But only the committed, the hungry, the disciplined continue when everyone says no. Every rejection I faced forced me to ask myself, Jack, do you still want this? If the answer was yes, I kept going. And every time I kept going, rejection became a kind of train. It taught me resilience. It taught me emotional strength. It taught me to stop depending on approval to move forward. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. And rejection builds that bridge faster than success ever will. Most people take rejection personally. They think a closed door means they are not good enough. But winners see rejection as information. If the world doesn't want you yet, good, use that as fuel. Use it to sharpen your skills, your mind, your plans. Rejection is a loyalty test. Are you loyal to your comfort or are you loyal to your future? Weak minds crumble. Strong minds get sharper. I always tell young people, the world is not rejecting you. The world is testing how badly you want what you say you want. If you quit because someone didn't choose you, you weren't ready to be chosen anyway. Failure is a stepping stone, but rejection is a mirror. It shows you exactly who you are. People think danger comes from risk, failure, or competition. But the real danger comes from comfort. Comfort is soft, warm, and friendly. It whispers, slow down. You've done enough. Take it easy. And because it feels good, you don't notice how it slowly kills your ambition. When I look back at my early years, the biggest breakthroughs in my life came after moments of extreme discomfort, when I had no money, no support, and no certainty. Those moments forced me to grow. Comfort never forced me to do anything except stay the same. When we started Alibaba, nothing was comfortable. We worked in a small apartment. We had no business model. Every day felt like a fight to survive. But that discomfort created speed, creativity, hunger. It forced us to think bigger, work smarter, and act faster. When life becomes too easy, your edge disappears. You stop learning. You stop trying. You stop evolving. And slowly, without realizing it, you fall behind people who are willing to suffer more than you. Comfort is dangerous because it hides its intentions. Failure is loud. Rejection is loud. But comfort is silent. It doesn't hurt. It drains you quietly. One day you wake up and realize you've wasted years protecting a lifestyle that never demanded your greatness. I've seen many talented people lose everything because they became addicted to easy days and simple routines. Success requires stretching, growing, and stepping into uncertainty again and again. You must be willing to outgrow who you were yesterday, even when it feels uncomfortable. You must walk away from old habits, old excuses, and sometimes old people. Winners understand a simple truth. Comfort is the enemy dressed as a friend. And if you choose comfort today, you will pay with regret tomorrow. The world rewards those who are willing to be uncomfortable long enough to rise above everyone who isn't. So if there is one thing I learned while building Alibaba, it's that the world does not reward the smartest person or the strongest person. It rewards the person who can stay calm when everything is falling apart. Most people think success is only about ideas or talent. But the truth nobody tells you is that emotional control is the currency of leadership. When I was younger, I would get frustrated easily. One rejection could ruin my whole day. One insult could make me doubt myself. But I quickly realized that if my emotions were stronger than my goals, I would lose every time. The world is chaotic. People will misunderstand you. Some will criticize you just to see your reaction. Some will delay your progress to test your patience. If you panic every time something unfair happens, you will spend your entire life reacting instead of building. When we faced our first big challenges at Alibaba, failed deals, angry investors, collapsing systems, everyone looked at me. Not because I had the best solution, but because they needed to see if I could handle the pressure. Leaders are not chosen by talent. They are chosen by emotional stability. I learned to breathe before responding. I learned to watch before moving. I learned that the person who speaks last usually wins. Emotional discipline is not natural, it is trained. And once you master it, the world becomes easier, not because the problems disappear, but because you stop letting them control you. Luck is when preparation meets opportunity, but opportunity only arrives to those who look ready. Emotional chaos makes you look unprepared, even when you are not. Every successful person you admire, whether in business, sports, or politics, has one thing in common. They stay calm when normal people collapse. The world respects composure. Investors trust you. Teams follow you. Competitors fear you. Emotional control is not just a skill, it is a signal. It tells the world, I am ready for more. People love to repeat the story of Thomas Edison failing 1,000 times before he invented the light bulb. They say it with a smile, as if failure is romantic. But they forget the truth behind that story. Those 1,000 failures were painful, humiliating, and deeply discouraging. Edison didn't keep going because it was fun. He kept going because he understood a truth. Most people avoid legendary success. Requires legendary endurance. When I was younger, I used to hear that story and think, how can anyone endure that much disappointment? Later, when building Alibaba, I found out exactly how. When our company was collapsing in the early days, when investors pulled away, when employees doubted me, and when competitors laughed at us, I remembered Edison. Not the light bulb, not the success. I remembered the 1,000 failures. I remembered that greatness is not about how many times you win. It's about how many times you refuse to die. People say failure is a stepping stone, but they never tell you how heavy that stone feels. They never tell you that failure hurts more when it comes from people you trusted. They never tell you that persistence is not a motivational quote. It's a battle with your own mind. Edison's story survives because it teaches the part nobody wants to admit. Persistence is not for everyone. It is not comfortable. It is not inspiring when you're in the middle of it. It feels lonely, confusing, and endless. But that discomfort is exactly what filters the ordinary from the extraordinary. This is why only a few people reach the top. Not because they are the most talented, but because they are the most stubborn. When I share Edison's story, I'm not sharing it to encourage people to fail. I'm sharing it to remind them that success will break you before it builds you. And if you cannot handle the breaking, you are not ready for the building. The clickbait sounds shocking, but it's true. Success is not about talent, it's about survival. Those who endure the longest become the ones the world calls genius later. When you begin to rise, something happens that nobody warns you about. People start watching you in a different way. They don't cheer quietly anymore. They analyze, judge, and wait for you to fail. I learned this the hard way. When Alibaba began gaining attention, every mistake we made was amplified. Competitors looked for flaws. Employees whispered doubts. Even friends sometimes turned their envy into criticism. It felt like the world was conspiring against me, but the truth is, it wasn't personal. Success always attracts attention, and attention always attracts resistance. Most people imagine that success will bring admiration first, respect second. That is a lie. The first thing it brings is jealousy. People want to see you stumble because your growth reminds them of what they haven't done. And if you are not prepared, that jealousy can destroy you faster than any market crash or failed investment. I realized that the quiet, smart winners are often the ones who survive longest. They move carefully, protect their ideas, and avoid unnecessary attention until the foundation is solid. Silence becomes a shield. Strategy becomes a weapon. And patience becomes the real power. The world rewards those who are ready, not those who are loud. I learned to celebrate small victories quietly, to work when others rest, and to protect my energy from those who would take it away. Every achievement invites scrutiny. But if you panic, if you argue with every critic, you give them the control. The moment you learn that success itself makes you a target, you start moving differently. You start thinking like a survivor. You start understanding the truth no one tells you. Winning is not only about skill or intelligence. It's about knowing when to fight and when to hide. In life, the loudest people are not the strongest are the quietest. When success comes, keep your focus, guard your mind, and do not let envy derail your mission. The world will try to take from you what you've built, but if you are smart, resilient, and patient, nothing can touch the core of your vision. Winners survive envy, losers are consumed by it. One of the hardest truths about success is that not everyone you start with will come with you. I remember when Alibaba was still young, there were friends, colleagues, even family members who could not understand the pace the vision, the obsession I had. At first, it hurt. I wanted everyone I cared about to succeed with me. But over time, I realized that some people simply refuse to grow. Their fear of change, their comfort with mediocrity, their inability to stretch beyond what they know it, becomes a weight you cannot carry if you want to rise. Success is not just about opportunity. It's about who you allow in your circle. When I began to outgrow the people around me, I had to make choices that felt uncomfortable. I had to accept that some friendships would fade, some relationships would end, and some advice even from love. Ones would be wrong for me. The sad truth is that loyalty to your past can sabotage your future. Winners evolve, losers complain. If you try to keep everyone in your life unchanged while you grow, you will find yourself stuck in a slow motion battle, constantly torn between progress and attachment. I learned to surround myself with those who challenge me, who inspire me, who are willing to step into discomfort alongside me. I learned that cutting ties is not betrayal, it is preservation. Every person who leaves your journey is making space for someone who belongs at the next level. Success demands this emotional courage, the courage to let go of the familiar to embrace the necessary. If you cannot outgrow people, you cannot outgrow your current reality. Your network, your support system, your environment, they all shape the trajectory of your life more than any single decision or idea. So, if you want the truths nobody tells you about success, understand this: not everyone can rise with you, and not everyone should. Growth will separate you from those who are comfortable being ordinary. And that separation is not cruel, it is essential. The moment you accept this, you stop being held back by other people as limitations, and you start moving toward what only you can achieve. The final truth that nobody tells you is the most difficult to accept. Success doesn't just change your life, it changes who you are. When I think back to the early days of Alibaba, I was a different person every year. The challenges forced me to shed old habits, abandon limiting beliefs, and even question who I thought I was. Every new level of achievement required a new version of myself. One, more disciplined, more focused, and more fearless than before. If you are not willing to evolve with your success, your results will outgrow you, and you will be left behind. I've seen this happen many times. People achieve a certain level of recognition, wealth, or skill, but they remain attached to the identity of who they were when they started. They cling to their old routines, their old friendships, their old ways of thinking, and slowly, success becomes a weight instead of a tool. The world does not reward the person who clings to their past. It rewards the person who becomes what the future demands. This is why most people fail even after achieving, because they are loyal to who they were, not to who they could become. Success reshapes your habits, your priorities, and even your relationships. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You learn to tolerate discomfort that once would have made you quit. You stop fearing judgment because your vision outweighs public opinion. The transformation is uncomfortable, sometimes lonely, but necessary. The person who started the journey is not the person who finishes it, and that is exactly how it should be. So remember, the ultimate secret no one tells you about success is this: it is not a destination, it is an identity. The world will only recognize your greatness after you have become someone they did not expect. To achieve extraordinary results, you must be willing to become extraordinary yourself. Every triumph, every setback, every failure is molding you, shaping you, preparing you to become the person who can truly claim success on their own terms.